All in Sports Network. We love sports.
It is Tuesday, October 7th, here on your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns. I'm Tanner Carlson. That is Jake Jimerson. And this is All in Horns, presented to you by Rogue Sports Network. AP polls have come out. Texas is no longer a top 25 team. I said they weren't the top 25 team after the UTEP game, so honestly, not all that surprised. One of the few times I've ever agreed with the AP poll. But yeah, Texas is no longer a ranked team. And yeah, Jake, we're going to give a little bit of a cool-headed recap of the Texas-Florida game. Just because it's cool-headed doesn't mean that we don't have the same thoughts as we had during our immediate reaction episode. And so let's go ahead and get this thing going. It is Red River Shootout week, and so it is rivalry week. Texas OU game this Saturday. We will be touching on that game in this episode as well, but really throughout the week, we're really going to hone in on it. And so, yeah. Anyway, Jake, let's start off Texas, Florida, and kind of take the conversation from there.
Yeah, while you were talking, I was kind of looking at our last video. I was looking at the comments, and we had a question from someone who I think watches most of our videos, and it was, if the season continues in this downward slide, how worried are you about talented freshmen hitting the portal? And also, are you worried about retaining verbal commits in the upcoming class? The portal side I'd be more worried about than the verbal commits. I mean, Sarkisian pulled in a top 5 class whenever they went 5-7 and lost to KU at home. So I just don't. When you are coming out of high school and going to a college, they view watching plays on the game differently than how we view it as fans. They view it as if I was on the field, Texas wouldn't have lost these 2 games by 1 possession.
Yeah.
That's how they view it. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but that's how recruits view it.
Well, they also view it on this coaching scheme, this game plan enhances my skill set more so than Team X or Team Z. I think that this coaching and these coaches are having one-on-one conversations with these guys of, hey, we can utilize you this way. I think you fit in that way. This is kind of what our plan for your development is. What are important things to you, and how is it that we can? There's so much more. It's not. This isn't a video game where it's, oh, we lost, and so that's going to dramatically impact a recruit's decision. I don't think recruiting really works that way in terms of wins and losses. That's why there's some recruits that are 4 stars, 5 stars that go to G5 schools. It just is. Like, it's not a matter of we just go to the best school because we think that we're going to win a national championship. That's not what it's always about.
And recruits aren't going to just go, well, I think this Texas program's in the dirt. I mean, I know some of the fan bases like that when they talk about the overall program, just because we're probably not a good team this year. Recruits look at Texas and go, I've seen them in the Final Four teams in the last 2 years in a row.
And they've had 30 some odd draft picks in the last 3 years.
Yeah, and this year they have a really young team and they don't look as good. And they probably messed up in some of their evaluations, which is where I can help. That's what a recruit thinks. Now, we talk about losing guys at the portal. I don't really worry about the guys who are getting a playing time this year. I think those guys just view it as, I'm going to get better and they kind of view it the same way a recruit does almost. But maybe some of the guys who aren't getting playing time and see the team struggling and go, why am I not getting on the field with the team not doing well? You could lose some of those guys, but some of those guys could be encouraged. I think there's going to be, very early, but just on this question, I think Texas is going to be the most aggressive they've ever been in the portal this offseason. And I think we're going to see a massive turnover at linemen, especially the offensive line. And we're going to see a massive turnover maybe at other positions like wide receiver, running back. I think you're going to see Texas be more aggressive in the portal than they've ever been under Sarkisian. And they've been fairly aggressive at times. This year, they were too conservative outside of defensive tackle, and it has come back to bite them. They had a very poor evaluation on where their offensive line was talent-wise.
I agree. I also think, too, when these guys get recruited, I think Sark is a very honest, transparent, straight up, hey, we're recruiting you not to play your freshman year. We're recruiting you for your sophomore, junior, possibly get you under a red shirt. get you an extra year of eligibility. I think Sark goes down the roster with these guys and says, "Hey, look, if you stick with this program, this you could turn into a Jordan Washington or a Jordan Whittington. Sorry, if you stick with this program, these are the type of opportunities. Look at a Trey Wisner. Look at a Jade Barron. Look at these guys that didn't start off their careers necessarily as full-time starters right out the gate, and they kind of had to work their way up the system. I think Sark has a very transparent conversation with a lot of those guys. And I think a lot of those guys probably are thinking, like you said, in terms of the recruiting side of things, of if I was on the field right now, maybe we wouldn't be struggling like we are currently. And next year is going to be my opportunity to play with Arch Manning and to play in this system. And again, honestly, Jake, here's my take on it too. If they're not good enough to get on the field with the team that's currently out there, how good can they possibly be right now anyway? Like how far along is their development? It's not like Sark has better options that he's just purposely not playing. That's just
and
not
leaving
happening.
after your freshman year is the worst time to leave because it affects how your strength and conditioning plan is. It affects a lot of things. Less of the time do you see a really, really talented freshman leave unless there's a coaching turnaround.
Yeah.
Which there could be some of that after this year. Texas has had a lot of continuity. There could be changes,
Dude, I think the Tashard Choice thing is huge. Our running backs have not been good this season. And I can't necessarily put it all on the running back coach or the running backs. The offensive line has failed. But again, it doesn't look like Trey Wisner can make a guy miss an open field by any means.
Let me ask this, though. Is Tashard Choice partly to blame for this? They haven't had an elite running back recruit outside of CJ Baxter, who the injuries have happened there that you can't control that. He fought to not go to the portal this offseason, saying his guys were legit. I don't think an individual player coach or position coach is going to make that drastic of a difference in this short amount of time. And also the offensive line is a big reason the running backs haven't looked good, but they just haven't looked good in open space. And you go back to last year. I mean, I've watched a lot of White, and he would make some guys miss, but he's never been just like close to like what a Jaden Baugh is for Florida or an Ahmad Hardy for Missouri. He's never looked like that, even when he's looked good. The offensive line was just a lot better last year. I think Tashard Choice became really well known for getting guys drafted that he didn't recruit. And I do think he was a good developer, but I wonder if he was a little bit of a Bo Davis. And now you're kind of feeling this. And, Texas is feeling the pain from not recruiting some other positions well. They came in, they got all these big offensive line recruits, and then they really stacked pretty mediocre offensive line classes after that, thinking these guys are developmental prospects. The only one who's worked out is Gooseby. From a 3-star type guy who's developed good. Connor Stroh is unplayable. So unplayable that you're playing a freshman tackle at guard, who also, by the way, Nick Brooks, he graded out in pass protection as a 0.
That's actually honestly impressive.
He was better in the run game than any other option you have at guard, but you gave up 35 pressures in the game on Saturday. Just about 50% of those came from the left guard.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of work to be done. And I guess that was a very long.
I don't think it's work that can be fixed this year.
No. I don't think it can be fixed this year. Now here's the one thing that I'm kind of just going to be looking for. And we see it every year in college football. We see it in every level of football as well. Pro, high school, college, you name it. As the season goes on, and there is some form of consistency, there's a form of desperation. Sometimes teams kick it on, and I'm not saying they play great. I'm not saying they make an end-of-season run, but sometimes they play well enough at the end of the year. They carry that momentum into next season, and it's a really good year. That's kind of where my hope is that maybe following the Georgia game, Texas plays Georgia really close. Maybe they lose that game. I probably are going to lose that game. But they play them really well. Maybe they have a chance to win it at the end, and maybe they don't get demolished at the line of scrimmage, both offensively and defensively. Maybe that game kind of sparks something in this team. and then they go in and they win their next 2 games, and then they go play Texas A&M, and maybe they beat A&M, who's a top-ranked team. Now, Texas might already have 5 losses at that point of the season, but maybe they end their season 3-game win streak. They get bowl eligible, they win their bowl game, and then they're going into the offseason with some pretty good momentum. That's kind of the storyline at this point in the year, Jake, that I'm just hopeful for, that I'm just banking on. I think that's just kind of the only thing you kind of can
I
hang
mean,
your
if
hat
I
on.
was going to be hopeful for a storyline, it'd be that this team just turns around the season starting this weekend. Because
sure.
technically the season's not over. I
No.
mean, if they win out, they will 100% be a playoff team. They could probably lose one more and still make the playoffs technically.
Depending on
But
others, yeah.
yeah, depending on others, but it's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities, especially this season with how it's shaping out. But yeah, the problem is I think the coaching staff as a whole, and this is where I would put blame on Sarkisian. I heard a lot of people going, I don't like the game plan. Well, tell me what you didn't, and I've asked people this. Tell me what you didn't like about the game plan. Tell me where you think Texas got outcoached. And it's just, well, we could have done, and they don't really give an actual answer. It's just because you watch them get whipped at the line of scrimmage, which that's not a game plan. That's just getting out physical to me, which says you messed up in the offseason by not being aggressive in the portal for offensive linemen, by trusting Kyle Flood when he said that he thought they had everything they needed to be a top offensive line. Not only are they not a top offensive line, that was the most pressures given up in the entire Steve Sarkisian era at Texas.
Yeah.
This is
by a lot too, by like 6 or 7 pressures.
Manning was pressured on 60% of his dropbacks.
Yeah. Well, I saw one guy was like, "Wow, Caldwell came in. Why couldn't?" And he was dead serious. This wasn't an ironic.
I've seen a lot of this.
It was, "Oh wow, Caldwell came in with no warm up whatsoever and delivered an absolute strike. Why didn't we decide to just go a series with him? Go a series with him? What do we? If you watch that game and you're just like, oh, Arch Manning just isn't the guy, then you're just not you're not watching the same game as I am. Now, I have my complaints about Arch, but it's all young quarterback who hasn't had a lot of game time experience at this level of college football yet. It's anticipation with guys getting open. It's getting rid of the ball a half second sooner when guys are covered, but you throw them open because they're about to break open, and your anticipation and your lead into that throw is more on time, and you're on the same page with your guys. It's more so those types of things, the feel for the game, to open up at that type of speed that he has yet to really get accustomed to. Again, I fully believe that will happen over time with Arch Manning. But to just be like, yeah, Arch Manning's the reason why we lost that game, you might as well have gone with Matthew Caldwell, is just you don't really know what you're watching out there. You're just used to blaming the starting quarterback.
Yeah, you're used to blaming the starting quarterback, and you just blame the coaching. That is the fans' default to blaming 2 things for every loss: the coach and the quarterback. And sometimes it is that simple.
And then the refs.
Yeah, and then the refs, which that definitely wasn't the case in this game, but that's just the default rather than I have seen a lot of blame on the offensive line, and that's good. Again, I blame the start of this season on Kyle Flood, and I do blame Sarkisian for not just he is in charge of the team at the end of the day. He should have made the decision to go into the portal and pull offensive linemen, and been aggressive with it. Maybe take one less D tackle and go out there and get a guard and a tackle. Because if they had a decent offensive line, they probably haven't lost a game yet. Other than they still maybe would have lost the Florida game, honestly, because the defense was horrible.
I'll tell you what, the defensive tackles that you got in the transfer portal this year didn't help your defense against Jaden Ball at all.
Yeah, and I kind of got into an argument with someone that was trying to say the defense kept Texas in the game in the second half. And I go, Texas scored to make it a 1-possession game, and they immediately gave up a 5-play touchdown drive.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about here? What game did you watch? We're talking about a Florida offense that outside of Long Island hadn't put up more than 16 points in a game. They had scored 16, 10, and 7. Now they scored 27. Well, the safety. They scored 27 and had 500 yards of offense. When you knew going into the season that regardless of how you thought the ceiling of the offense was, you knew this was a defensive team. You knew the defense was going to lead the way, and the defense was terrible. They were soft and weak.
One of the things that I noticed going into this week, and I sit there and I watch YouTube videos of Josh Pate or, whatever college football YouTube channel there is of experts picking and diagnosing and dissecting games and upcoming games and making predictions, all that stuff, all of it. The only people that predicted Texas to win had this to say: yeah, but that Texas defense is going to shut down Florida. That Texas defense has linebackers and edge rushers and are going to be able to shut things down in the secondary to where they're not going to be able to move the ball. So Arch Manning and company, all they really have to do is go down the field a couple of times to win this game. That's exactly what I thought was going to happen. That's why I picked Texas, is because I thought these two teams were so similar in terms of strengths and weaknesses. Texas just had better strengths and better weaknesses. And that's really what it came down to. They were a similar team, almost the exact same team, same issues. I just thought it was going to go Texas's way and not Florida's way. And boy, did that prove to be the complete opposite of how this game ended up being, because as much as we are trashing on the offensive line, that defense is a defense that you cannot have success with, even if you had a good offense, Jake. Even if your offensive line played well, the defense playing like that, you still lose the game.
Yeah. Florida had amassed. They had 19 points at halftime. They had 17 on offense. That is more than they had scored in any game that was not Long Island at halftime. And they had more yardage at halftime than several of the, I think, might have been they had more yardage at halftime than they had in any of those games. Because I know they didn't have a lot of yardage against Miami. They had a total of 355 yards against South Florida. They had just about 250 at halftime against the Longhorns. They had 366 against LSU, and they had against Miami, they had 141 total yards against Miami, which I think they had more than that in the first quarter.
Here's what's going to happen. They're going to turn around and go to Kyle Field next week, Jake, and they're going to get crushed. Their offense is going to be anemic.
Yeah, I mean, A&M is looking like they're very much hitting their stride now.
I didn't come away from this game thinking, man, Florida sure did improve. I just thought they were the same team I've been watching all year long.
The only thing I thought was they stuck to the run more because they hadn't fed, which they could because they got a lead, and Texas's offense, by the time they found it, were down, and by found it, I mean just able to put some points up.
Yeah.
The game was out of hand. If you would have told me at the start of if you had told me Texas scored 21 points, I would have said, wow, it's more than I picked them to score, and I picked them to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, the offensive line deserves a ton of blame for this game. And some people go, well, Arch he threw two picks in the fourth quarter when they were just trying to come back.
I'm not concerned.
It's not like he threw those in the first half.
He didn't cost Texas the game because of those interceptions. Now, Texas, coincidentally enough, did lose by one possession, but he was just trying to make a play and trying to go down the field.
What cost you the game was your running backs averaged less than 2 yards a carry. What cost you the game was your defense got bent over a barrel and just spanked the entire 4 quarters, or I guess 3 quarters. The Florida offense slowed down in the fourth quarter because they honestly just got conservative and thought the game was over, but which it was. Yeah. The defense for me was by far the most disappointing aspect. Didn't expect that. Neither of us expected the Longhorn offense to look great in this game.
Nope.
You're going on the road. The weather wasn't great. And Florida had a really good defense. We knew that. But they had an offense that looked worse than Texas's offense to this point. And yet the defense that's supposed to be the top defense in the country or top 3 defense in the country looked like one of the worst defenses in the entire conference.
All right, Jake, let's go ahead and talking about bad performances. My weekend's performances on Underdog. We're going to hear from Underdog. We'll go through those bad entries that I made. here shortly. But let's go ahead, hear from Underdog, and then we'll talk a little bit about how we did over the weekend.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code HORNS to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code HORNS. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money.
All right, Jake, I was 3-5 on Saturday for my college picks. And then I went 2-4 in the NFL and with my NFL entry. So I was below 500 both Saturday and Sunday. Way more losses than I had wins. Unfortunately, the wins didn't earn what I had lost with the bets that I made with the other ones. So yeah, it was not a great weekend for me. But hey, we throw it away just like in fantasy this week. Took a bad loss. Team didn't perform. I didn't perform. Bad coaching on all fronts. And so we're gonna recoup. We're going to get back on the saddle. We're going to get some research done. We're going to really dive deep into it this upcoming week, which is why I don't have picks for today or tomorrow. I won't have picks made because I'm grinding the gears. I'm grinding the film, and I got to get back in the film room to make better picks. So that's on me.
Yeah. I didn't do much better. Coming off last weekend, I hit I think it was like a 6.8x entry last week. So I was feeling sky high going into this weekend and kind of leveled out. I went 0-2 in the NFL, and I went 1-2 in college. And that one entry that I won on did not outweigh the entries that I did not win on.
Yep.
That said, the great thing with Underdog is it only takes one, because guess what? Still up a bunch on the year, just because that one last year or last week really worked out well for me. And so that is the fun thing about Underdog is with like the supercharge option that they do, which that was what I hit on last week, was a supercharge. It truly only takes one win that can outweigh a couple bad weekends.
It's also really helpful whenever they give you gimme picks. They give you gimmies almost, if you check Underdog right before kickoff, about 30 minutes before kickoff, like Sunday Night Football, when there's a standalone game, they're going to probably like 9 times out of 10 give you a gimme pick. And it'll be Josh Allen, 0 yards. That's going to be the line. And so you just, obviously you take higher than 0 yards for Josh Allen. And then you make 1 or 2 other picks that you're comfortable with. And you've got a really good chance of earning back a little bit of what you lost in some of those other games. So just a little tidbit of information there. All right, Jake, that's our Underdog, and we'll be right back, and we're going to talk a little OU to close out the show.
Must be 18 and up. 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369.
All right, Jake, let's talk a little OU. To wrap up the show, we've got about 7 minutes to do so. Just really quick, first thoughts. It does look like it's going to be Michael Hawkins. I haven't heard anything otherwise, Jake.
I don't think it really matters, to be honest.
And there we go. Yep. Because if this defense shows out the way it did against Florida, Texas is going to have a really long night at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas at the Texas State Fair on Saturday.
Yeah, and the line is already moving. We talked before we recorded, Texas had opened up as 3.5-point favorites for some unknown reason. That line has already moved down to 2.5, a full point swing, I think within, just half a day since it has opened. And the reason why is I don't think OU's going to have to score more than 10 to 14 points to win this game. You look at their defense right now, OU's defensive rankings, Total defense, first in the country. Opponent yards per play, first in the country. Sacks a game, first in the country. Tackles for loss in the game, first in the country. Third point conversion percentage for opponent, first in the country. Punts per game for the opponent, first in the country. Scoring defense, second. Passing defense, second. They've only allowed 3 touchdowns on the year. That's second. They are first or second in essentially every single metric. They are top 5 in every conceivable metric I've looked at as a defense. And they are going to, I don't see a way this offensive line.
It's
In
a
fact,
nightmare matchup. It's a nightmare matchup.
Fans are very likely going to get their wish this weekend because I truly don't think Arch will make it through the game. Not from getting benched, but he's probably going to get banged up, and Caldwell's going to have to come
One
in.
thing that I don't know if I've said, Jake, from Saturday, I may have said it on Saturday, but I definitely haven't said in this episode. For the amount that Arch got beat up, boy, is he a tough MFer. I mean, tough as nails. Just got up, hit after hit after hit, didn't complain, adjusted his shoulder pads, adjusted his helmet, got back out there, scrambled for another 6 yards, took another big hit, and, continued on. As tough as he is, and as gritty of a football player as he is, and as much as I respect that in a quarterback, you're right. He may not make it through the rest of this game. And that's concerning for not only the rest of this season, but for the future of this program.
Yeah. The future of this year. I think you're going to see probably 3 to 4 new faces on the offensive line next year because DJ Campbell will be gone. I think Gooseby might end up staying because I don't think his draft stock has increased this year. Hudson's gone. And I guess Nick Brooks will probably start somewhere next year. You have to hope. I do think from what I've seen in him this year, he clearly can develop into a starter.
Baker just doesn't. I don't think Baker might be forced to transfer. He might be asked to transfer.
Yeah, he doesn't look good. And yeah, he's a true sophomore. He's a 5-star. He shouldn't look like a complete liability out there, and he has. And the only reason it's not getting talked about more is because the left guard position has been so poor, it's overshadowing it. The center position has been extremely poor. And I really question, maybe they really don't have as much belief in Robertson as they say they do, which I guess, honestly, Robertson didn't look that good when I went back and watched the game that he did play in. And so I would try bumping Hudson to left guard, throwing Robertson in at center, but I don't really think it's going to make that big of a difference. DJ Campbell, upon second watch, actually played pretty good in the Florida game, but he still had a holding call. He's had a holding call, I think, every single game this season.
He's had an issue with penalties.
That's the bad thing for this offensive line is they've had issues with penalties. They've had issues with blocking. I would say there have been traffic cones out there, but traffic cones don't get penalties. So they don't move, and they move before the snap a lot. So, it's hard. I can't believe Texas is favorite. I don't bet on Texas games because I just don't. So I'm not going to bet this game. If I was going to bet it, I'd already have a bet in on an OU money line. I can't believe Texas is favorites in this game. That's kind of my initial thought on this game is, and what planet is Texas look like a better team than Oklahoma with or without Mateer?
And you're right. It really may not take a lot. And yes, they played Kent State, but it's not like Michael Hawkins.
Their defense may outscore. Their defense may score enough points in this game.
Dude, Texas's special teams is what really concerned me. The special teams unit has been all over the map. And yeah, they blocked punt, but man, even before that, I don't think Ryan Niblett has returned a punt cleanly without letting it at least bounce. It just seems there's a lot of problems that can go wrong, and you need all 3 phases to have success against Oklahoma, especially Red River Shootout. You need all 3 phases to be pretty on point, and it doesn't seem like any of the 3 phases have any points. It's all rounded.
Yeah, no, we thought the defense was good. That Ohio State game means nothing to me for the defense now because Ohio State played so conservatively on offense. Now you've had one good, actually, sorry, no, not one good offense. You've had one offense that has talent on it. Prepare for you and have a game plan for specifically you. And they embarrassed you. So really the defense this year hasn't looked good because they played an Ohio State team who just ran the ball, very predictive, didn't really take any shots deep. The one shot deep they took, they completed for a touchdown, and just really didn't do anything on offense. They played very conservative because they had a first-time starter out there. Then you played 3 cupcakes. Yeah, you look good on defense, whippy. Then you played Florida, who was ranked, in the 120s, every conceivable metric on offense, and they lit you up for 27 points. And because I'm not counting the safety, to be fair, 27 points and 500 yards of offense. So yeah, I think OU's offense will light up this defense? No, because I don't think their offensive line isn't near as good as Florida's. I will say that, but so I think the defense will have success in this game, especially if Mateer isn't starting. But I don't think it will particularly matter because I don't see a way this offensive line makes it possible to score basically anything. If anything, your best shot to win in this game is to connect on a couple big plays, which is possible, but I don't know if it's really possible, to be honest.
All right, Jake, let's go ahead and wrap up the episode. That's going to do it for today's episode. We will see everybody tomorrow, and then as we lead into it, it's going to be a lot of Texas OU talk for the remainder of this week. Going into it, again, Texas now unranked, going up against the number 5 team in the country in Oklahoma this week in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl. So that's Jake Jimerson. I'm Tanner Carlson. As always, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And hook 'em.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.